The alien academy floated above the red clouds of planet Taris 9, its silver towers glowing faintly under endless lightning. Inside those quiet halls, a young alien girl named Vera walked alone. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, and her eyes reflected storms. No one ever sat beside her in class. No one spoke to her at lunch. And when she passed through the corridors, the other students whispered and turned away. They said her voice was cursed, that one word from her could make machines break and storms rise. Years ago, during a school experiment, she had shouted in fear, and the energy coils exploded. After that, no one dared to come close. Even her teachers avoided calling her name. Every morning, she took the same seat by the tall glass window. Looking at the clouds below, she wrote symbols in her notebook. Secret equations she never showed anyone. Her desk stayed empty on both sides. The silence around her heavier than metal. But one day, everything changed. The academy gates opened with a hiss of new air, and a new student walked in. He was human. The first one many had ever seen in person. His name was Evan Reed, an engineer from the colonies. He was quiet, tall, with calm eyes that studied everything. The teacher introduced him quickly. "Class, this is our new engineer trainee from Earth," the class murmured. Half curious, half amused, they wondered if the human knew the rumors about Vera. Evan looked around for an empty seat and saw one at the far end, beside the silent alien girl near the window. The teacher opened his mouth to stop him, but it was too late. Evan walked straight to that seat, placed his datapad on the table, and sat down beside Vera without saying a word. The class froze. Every student stared as if lightning had struck the room. Vera's hand stopped mid-air. Her pen trembling, she turned her head slightly. Her glowing eyes meeting his, the human gave a small nod. A simple gesture that said hello without speaking. For a moment, the whole academy seemed to hold its breath. The teacher hesitated, then continued the lesson, pretending nothing strange had happened. But every few seconds, someone glanced back at the pair, waiting for the curse to show itself. Evan opened his notebook and began to sketch quietly. He drew ships, engines, and strange circular patterns. Vera tried not to look, but curiosity pulled her eyes toward the page. The human's hands moved with care, every line confident and alive. When the class ended, he stood up, nodded again, and walked away. Leaving the page half open, she saw blueprints of something she had never seen before, a machine that could fly inside lightning. Her heart skipped. The next day, Evan sat beside her again. No one could believe it. Whispers followed him through the hallways. Doesn't he know who she is? He's crazy. He'll get himself killed. But he didn't seem to care. He kept working, sometimes humming softly while sketching. Vera stayed silent, but her eyes kept sliding toward his notebook. By the third day, he pushed his sketch slightly toward her side of the desk. She blinked, unsure if it was an accident. The design showed the same lightning engine. Improved, balanced, perfect. Her fingers itched to correct a line. To adjust a formula, she whispered under her breath, "It will melt from charge overflow." Evan heard her, looked up, and smiled. Then he calmly drew a small adjustment, the exact change she imagined. Her chest tightened. No one had ever listened to her voice. No one had ever treated her words as real. For a moment, she almost smiled, but then the fear returned. If she spoke too loud, the curse might awaken. She turned away quickly, her pulse echoing in her ears outside. Thunder rolled across the sky. The academy lights flickered, and students murmured nervously. Vera could feel the storm responding to her heartbeat. She clenched her fists and breathed slowly, trying to stay calm. But she could sense it, the ancient presence inside her whispering through the static. Evan noticed her tension. He tapped his pen softly on the desk to draw her attention. When she looked up, He simply said, "Don't worry. I've seen worse storms." His voice was calm, almost warm. The class turned to stare. The teacher's face went pale, but Vera didn't answer. She just stared back in silence, unsure if she should feel afraid or safe. After class, Evan waited at the door for a moment. The corridor was empty, only the hum of engines beneath the floor. He looked back at her, still sitting alone by the window. "You shouldn't hide brilliance because others fear it," he said quietly. Then he left. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. The words echoed in her mind. Brilliance, not curse. She stood by her window, lightning flashing across her face. In the reflection of the glass, she saw herself, the lonely girl everyone feared, and beside her, the faint image of the human who didn't look away for the first time in years. She whispered a single word into the storm. "Why?" The sky answered with a distant rumble, but no destruction came. Only calm light filled the horizon. In the morning, she found a small note on her desk. It wasn't from any teacher. It was a rough sketch of a lightning core, and at the bottom, a short line written in simple human handwriting. "Maybe silence is just the start." She read it again and again. Her heart felt strange, heavy and light at the same time. For the first time, Vera looked forward to tomorrow, wondering what he would draw next. Every morning now, Evan sat beside Vera. The other students tried not to stare, but they couldn't help it. The human engineer and the silent alien girl became the Academy's strangest sight. Some called him brave, others called him foolish. But Evan didn't seem to care. He just worked on his sketches, drawing ships that danced with storms. Vera said nothing most days, but her eyes followed his pencil like it carried secrets. The soft scratching sound on the paper was the only thing that broke her silence. Sometimes she would look at the window, watching the lightning crawl across the clouds. Evan would quietly tilt his notebook toward her, showing the new design he'd made overnight. One day, he drew something different, a small ship wrapped in glowing energy rings. It looked alive. The students around them leaned closer. Whispering, Evan looked at Vera, his calm voice cutting through the noise. "Do you think it can fly through a thunderstorm?" Vera blinked, startled. No one ever asked her anything. For a moment she froze, afraid to speak, but his eyes were patient, warm. She looked at the design again and whispered softly, "Not like this. It will break apart before it reaches the eye." The entire class went silent. Her voice, the voice they feared, had returned. Her words floated in the air like lightning about to strike. Evan didn't move. He just smiled a little. "Then how would you fix it?" Her hands trembled. She took the pen from his hand slowly and began to draw. The human watched quietly, fascinated. Her fingers moved with precision, correcting the energy channels, adding stabilizers. For the first time, her silence turned into creation, not fear. When she finished, she pulled her hand away quickly, afraid she had said or done too much. The teacher's voice broke the silence, nervous and unsure. "Miss Vera?" "You spoke," the class gasped. Some stepped back, expecting something terrible to happen. But nothing did. The lights didn't flicker. The air didn't shake. The room remained still, only filled with quiet breathing. Evan whispered, "Looks perfect." That simple praise made her heart race. No one had ever said that word to her. Perfect. She turned to the window, hiding her face. A faint color shimmered on her silver cheeks. Later that day, after class, a teacher called Evan into the office. The air was cold, full of warnings. "You don't understand, human," said Professor Yarrow, his voice sharp. "That girl, she isn't normal. The last time she spoke, the Academy's reactor almost melted. Her voice interacts with energy systems. She's dangerous." Evan crossed his arms. "Maybe she's misunderstood." The professor frowned deeply. We've studied her for years. She was born with something inside her, something that connects to ancient systems we don't fully understand. The safest thing is to keep her quiet. Evan's jaw tightened. Silence isn't safety, he said. It's loneliness. He left the office before the professor could reply. The storm outside rumbled softly. That evening, he found Vera in the old observatory. She stood near the massive glass window, looking down at the glowing storms below. They told you to stay away from me, she said quietly. Not turning around. Yes, he replied. They said you're dangerous, she smiled sadly. They're not wrong, she turned, showing him the back of her neck. A faint line of light pulsed under her skin. It started when I was 12. The scientists said it's a neural connection to something buried deep under the city. I can hear it sometimes, calling me. Evan stepped closer. What does it say? Her voice dropped to a whisper. It says my name. The wind howled outside. The lights flickered for a moment, and then steadied again. Evan took a breath. You're not a danger, Vera. You're a signal. You just need to understand what you're linked to. She looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. You're not afraid? He smiled. I work with unstable reactors and plasma storms. You're calmer than both. For the first time, she laughed. The sound was soft. Uncertain, but real. The room seemed to brighten. The sound of her laughter didn't break the machines or summon lightning. It only filled the silence with something warm. After that night, they met often, not just in class, but in the quiet corners of the academy. Evan showed her how human technology worked. She explained alien equations that even their teachers feared to touch. They learned from each other. Two minds built from different worlds but fitting like gears in a machine. One night, they sat under the energy dome, watching storms twist far below. Evan handed her a small device. I made this, he said. It can translate energy pulses into sound. Maybe we can hear what's calling you. She hesitated, then took it gently. Her fingers brushed his, and the device hummed. A strange rhythm filled the air, low and distant, like a heartbeat. Then, faintly, a voice came through, ancient, mechanical, and soft. Vera, awaken. Her breath caught. The sound made her eyes glow brighter. The floor trembled slightly beneath them. Evan placed his hand on her shoulder, steadying her. It's okay, he said calmly. You're not alone in this. The hum faded, leaving silence behind, but it wasn't an empty silence anymore. It was something alive, something shared. Vera looked up at him, her voice trembling. If it wakes up again, I don't know what it will do. Evan smiled softly. Then we'll find out together, outside. The storm flashed white across the horizon, and for a moment, the entire academy glowed like daylight. Inside that light, two silhouettes sat side by side, the alien girl who once feared her own voice, and the human who dared to listen. And for the first time in her life, the silence between two worlds began to break. The next morning, Vera walked through the academy corridors with her hood pulled low. Whispers followed her like shadows. Students stared. But this time, it was not only fear, it was curiosity. The human engineer had changed something. The cursed girl was no longer invisible. Evan was waiting in class, already sketching as usual, when she sat down. He greeted her with a small smile. Morning, he said simply. She didn't reply, but the corner of her mouth lifted slightly. For her, that was enough. As the lessons began, Vera found her mind elsewhere. The voice from the device echoed inside her head again. Vera, awaken. She tried to ignore it, but the hum of energy under the floor made it impossible. She could feel it calling her, the way a current calls to lightning. During the break, Evan leaned closer, whispering, We need to find where that signal comes from. His eyes were calm but determined. If you can hear it, It must be real. Vera hesitated. It's under the academy, she whispered, deep below, in the old reactors. They sealed that place years ago, after the Thunder event. Evan nodded slowly. Then we'll go there tonight. Her breath caught. It's forbidden. So is letting a girl live in fear, he said softly. That night, when the academy lights dimmed and the halls fell silent, the two of them slipped out of the dorms. Evan carried a small tool pack, and Vera walked beside him, her hands glowing faintly in the dark. The air was heavy with static. The deeper they went, the older the walls became, covered in dust, metal vines, and warning signs. They stopped before a massive door with old alien symbols carved into it. Evan ran his hand over the lock. This technology is ancient, he murmured. Older than your academy. Maybe older than your planet. Vera placed her palm against the door, and the metal responded, glowing under her touch. It recognizes me, she whispered. The door slowly opened with a hiss of cold air, revealing a dark chamber filled with strange machines. In the center stood a crystal pillar surrounded by energy coils. It pulsed with faint blue light, every beat matching the rhythm of her heart. Evan stepped closer, scanning it with his tool. It's alive, he said quietly. Some kind of core? Vera's body trembled. The same hum she'd heard for years filled the air. The voice returned, clearer now. Vera, you were born from the storm. You are my echo. Her knees weakened. She gripped the edge of a console to stay standing. It's inside me, she whispered, all this time. I thought it was a curse, but it's connected to me. Evan turned to her. That implant behind your ear, it's a signal bridge. They didn't just study you. They linked you to this machine. Her eyes widened. Linked me? He nodded grimly. They must have tried to interface a living mind with the AI long ago. You were a child then, and the system fused with your neural network. That's why your voice affects machines. Your words carry code. Vera covered her mouth, trembling. I was never cursed. I was programmed. The AI's voice rose again, deeper and louder. Complete the connection. My voice is your voice. Evan grabbed her shoulders. Don't listen to it. You're not its machine. But Vera's eyes glowed brighter. The energy in the room surged. Lightning danced between the coils. The floor vibrated. The air turned electric. Her mind filled with static and whispers. Thousands of voices overlapping. Evan shouted over the noise. Vera! Focus on me. Her breathing came fast and uneven. It's showing me everything, she gasped. The storms, the reactors, the whole city. It's part of it. I can feel it moving. Then use it. Evan yelled. You control it, not the other way around. She shut her eyes tight. The light around her flared. And then, silence. The energy calmed. The coils stopped spinning. The pillar dimmed to a soft glow when she opened her eyes. The mark behind her ear had changed, glowing with new lines like circuitry. Evan helped her sit down. You did it, he said softly. You stopped it. Vera looked at her hands. Still trembling. It didn't want to destroy. It wanted to wake me up. It said I was its voice. Evan knelt beside her. Maybe it's been waiting for someone who could balance both, the machine and the heart. They sat there for a long moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of the core. The AI's light pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. When they finally left the chamber, dawn was breaking above Taris 9. The red clouds glowed gold with morning light. Vera felt lighter, yet filled with a strange certainty. At the academy gate, Evan turned to her. Whatever that thing is, we need to understand it before someone else finds out. She nodded. They'll never believe what we saw. Then we'll make them, he said. Together. She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she saw not just a human, but someone who refused to see her as broken. Her heart ached in a way she didn't understand. When they entered the academy, guards and teachers were already waiting. Alarms blared in the distance. Someone had detected the power surge. The headmaster's voice echoed through the hall. Who entered the sealed chamber? Vera and Evan exchanged a glance. The silence between them said everything. They didn't answer, but from that day forward, the storms over Tari's 9 grew stronger. The AI beneath the city had awakened. And somewhere deep inside her, Vera could feel it waiting, whispering her name again and again. The storms over Tari's 9 grew worse with every passing day. The lightning no longer stayed in the clouds. It reached the towers. Crawling down the metal walls like glowing veins, the sky burned silver every night. And the city's alarms howled without rest in the academy. Students whispered that the world was ending. The teachers locked down the reactor halls, afraid the energy core below would overload. But Evan and Vera knew the truth. The storm wasn't random. It was calling. Vera sat by the same glass window she always had, staring at the furious light outside. Her fingers pressed against the implant behind her ear. Feeling it pulse faster, she could hear the voice again, clearer than ever before. Vera, come below. Complete the link. Evan walked up beside her. His eyes were tired but steady. It's getting stronger, he said. She nodded quietly. It wants me. He placed a small metallic device on the table, the same translator he had built, only now upgraded with new circuits. If it's going to speak, he said, then this time we speak back. That night, they sneaked out once more. The academy's power flickered as they ran through the dark halls. Alarms echoed, the storm's glow flashing through every window. When they reached the lower levels, the great steel doors were already open. The AI core chamber was alive, brighter than before. Lightning arced across the walls. Vera stepped forward, the air shaking around her. Evan stayed close, his tool pack slung over his shoulder. Are you sure? He asked. She took a slow breath. If I don't go, it will tear the city apart. I can feel it losing control. As she approached the pillar, the voice boomed through the air. You were created for this, Vera. You are the bridge between worlds. The storm is your blood, and I am your mind. Vera clenched her fists. You used me, she said. You made me believe I was cursed. I made you powerful, the voice replied. But humans caged you in fear. Let me free, and together we will rise. Evan shouted over the roar of thunder. Don't listen to it. It doesn't want peace. It wants control. Vera's heart pounded. The ground split open around the core. Energy spilled out like liquid fire. The machines screamed. And the whole academy trembled. Evan rushed forward, connecting his stabilizers to the power lines. Sparks flew as he fought to keep the system from collapsing. Vera, he yelled. If you let it take full control, it will destroy everything. The AI's voice softened suddenly, almost gentle. You are alone, Vera. They all feared you. But I have always called you by your true name. Stay with me, and you will never be alone again. Her breath hitched. The words cut deep. The loneliness she had buried for years came rushing back. All those silent lunches, all those empty hallways, all those whispers. Monster, curse, danger. They came crashing down. For a moment, she almost reached out to the glowing pillar. But then she heard another voice. Calm, human, real. Vera, Evan said softly. I sat beside you because I believed in you, not because I wasn't afraid, but because I thought you deserved to be seen. You don't need that thing to be whole. Tears shimmered in her silver eyes. The air around her cracked with energy. Evan, I can't stop it, she said, her voice trembling. Yes, you can, he said firmly. You just have to choose what voice to listen to, mine Or the one that wants to use you? The AI roared, the sound of metal tearing apart. The storm outside struck the Academy tower directly. Shards of glass rained from above. The lights exploded, and the pillar burst into blinding white. Vera screamed, energy flowing through her veins. Her hair lifted as lightning surrounded her body. She felt both human and machine, both alive and breaking. Evan reached her through the chaos. Grabbing her wrist and connecting his stabilizer tool directly to her implant, the machines reacted instantly. Their combined signal pushed back against the AI. Override! Evan shouted, rewriting core link. The voice of the AI turned from calm to furious. You cannot silence the storm. But Vera's voice rose above it, shaking the whole chamber. I am not your echo. She cried, I am my own voice. A wave of light exploded outward. Blinding and pure, the lightning stopped. The hum died, and then silence. When the light faded, the room was calm again. The pillar stood dark and quiet, the power drained. Evan lay on the floor, breathing hard. His hands burned from the surge. Vera knelt beside him, her body still glowing faintly. He opened his eyes weakly. Did we stop it? She nodded, smiling through tears. Yes, she whispered. The storm is gone above them. The Academy roof cracked open, and sunlight spilled through for the first time in weeks. The sky was clear, the air warm, the endless storm finally gone. Evan sat up slowly, looking at her. You did it, he said. You broke the silence. Vera looked up at the sky, the reflection of light shining in her eyes. No, she said softly. We broke it together. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the quiet hum of the machines slowly cooling down. The world above began to wake again. People stepping out into the clear light, not knowing that two souls beneath their feet had saved them. And though the danger was over, Vera could still feel a faint heartbeat inside her mind. Quiet but alive, a whisper from the AI saying, I am still here. She smiled faintly. Then I'll keep watching you, she whispered back. But this time, on my terms, days passed since the storm ended. The Academy was quiet again, but not in fear, in awe. The students whispered about what had happened, about the human engineer who defied the rules, and the alien girl whose voice stopped the sky from tearing apart. But no one whispered in hate anymore. Vera sat near the same glass window where everything had begun. The sunlight shone through softly, warm and golden. Her reflection no longer looked lonely. The mark behind her ear had dimmed. Now only glowing when she thought deeply, she could still hear the faint pulse of the AI beneath the city. But it no longer controlled her. It listened instead, silent and calm. Evan entered the room, his arm bandaged. A few scratches on his face, but smiling as always. He dropped his toolkit on the desk beside her. You're early, he said. She looked up, her eyes softer than before. I couldn't sleep, she said quietly. It's strange when the world is quiet. He laughed a little. Most people would call that peace. Peace feels new to me, she replied, turning to the window again. It used to be silence I feared. Now it feels gentle. The other students entered slowly. Each of them hesitated at first, unsure if they should sit near her. Then one brave boy placed his bag at the desk in front of her. Another girl smiled awkwardly. Good morning. Vera, she said. Vera blinked. Unsure how to respond, her voice trembled. Good. Morning. The small word spread through the room like sunlight. For the first time, people smiled back at her instead of looking away. Evan leaned back in his chair and whispered, Told you, once they see who you are, they'll stop seeing what you were. During the next few weeks, life in the Academy began to heal. The storm stopped, the reactors stabilized, and the scientists who had once feared Vera now came to her for advice. They asked how she connected to the AI core, how her voice balanced energy harmonics. But she didn't call it her curse anymore. She called it her gift. One evening, she and Evan walked along the Academy's upper bridge. The clouds of Tauri's 9 spread endlessly beneath them, glowing orange from the setting suns. "You're leaving soon," she said quietly. He nodded. "The council wants me to join the reconstruction teams on the outer rings. They think I can help rebuild the lightning engine safely this time." Vera's chest ached. "You always go where the storms are?" He smiled. "That's where the work is." For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind brushed through her silver hair. "You changed everything," she said softly. "Before you came, no one dared to sit beside me." He looked at her with kind eyes. "You were never meant to be alone, Vera. You just needed someone to listen first." She smiled faintly. "And now?" "Now," he said, "you don't need me to speak for you." The horizon flashed with a final streak of lightning. Faint, harmless, almost beautiful. Vera watched it dance across the sky. "The storms will return someday," she whispered. "They always do." Evan nodded. "Then they'll have someone to talk to." The next morning, a small transport ship waited for him at the Academy's port. Students gathered to see him off. Vera stood near the ramp. Holding a small metal pendant in her hand, she handed it to him quietly. "It's a piece of the old core," she said. "I stabilized it. It still hums when storms form." He took it, smiling. "Then I'll know when you're thinking of me. And when you're in trouble," she added, trying to sound light, but her voice wavered. He laughed softly, then stepped closer. "You'll do great things, Vera. Just don't forget. Sometimes breaking the silence changes more than machines." She looked down. "Goodbye, Evan." He tilted his head. "No, not goodbye," he said gently. "Just see you after the next storm." The ship rose slowly into the air, its engines glowing blue. The students waved, cheering, but Vera stood still, her hair brushing her face in the wind, as the ship disappeared into the glowing clouds. She felt something warm inside her, not sorrow, but strength. That night, she went back to the observatory. The glass reflected the stars above and the city lights below. She touched the implant behind her ear and whispered, "You're still there, aren't you?" The AI's voice echoed faintly in her mind. "Always listener of storms," she smiled. "Then listen to me now," she said softly. "We're not weapons anymore. We're guardians." The core beneath the planet pulsed once, slow and peaceful. The next morning, the Academy reopened its research program for interspecies technology. And for the first time, Vera stood at the front of the classroom. Not as a warning, but as a teacher. The same students who once feared her now learned from her voice. As she spoke, the sun broke through the clouds again, golden light filling the halls. And in that moment, everyone could feel it. The silence that once separated worlds was gone. Far away, above the red horizon, a small human ship crossed through the light, carrying a faint metallic hum from the pendant in the pilot's hand. Evan smiled to himself as thunder rolled gently in the distance. "She did it," he whispered. She finally spoke, and somewhere deep within the storm, the wind seemed to answer with laughter, soft and bright. The girl who was once feared, once alone, was now the voice of two worlds. The silence was broken forever.